Most commendable of tonight really is you couples, and I'll tell you why. Because it requires a lot of flexibility and open-mindedness to come to such an event. Because you know you're going to hear something that is new to you, something that you'll have to work hard to accept, and you'll even have to change yourself. And that requires a lot of humility and a lot of resilience, flexibility. In other words, people get comfortable in the way they are and they want to stay in their box. And if I, suggest maybe a better way, a new way, people are resistant to it, even though they know the success rate will be better. And the reason is because it's hard to change. It's hard to admit, A, that I'm wrong, and it's hard to create a new habit, create a new, better way. But I want to tell you something. What's going on outside, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, not even for couples, and certainly to the children. The children who are suffering from this is terrible, terrible. I am a parenting teacher as well as a marriage counselor, and I can tell you the difficulties with children many times are stemming from the disharmony at home. So we really have to put ourselves together, A, for ourselves, and B, for our families that we have. And going forward, Bezrat Hashem, you can find a much better way, a healthier way to resolve all your issues, to understand each other, and to actually become best friends. That's what couples are meant to be, best friends. We have to understand each other. We have to integrate our brains in such a way that I can understand you, I can be open and accept you, and you can be open and accept me as well. Having said that, I just want to say one word about Harmony. So Harmony is an organization that does step in once the marriage is in crises. And they also have, they have therapists on board, they have mentors on board, they offer even a service, a mentoring service of sometimes a girl or a boy needs that support to connect to on a daily basis. What should I do? How do I deal with this? Besides the regular help, therapeutic help that they need, besides that. But other than that, sometimes they need that daily support, and Harmony does provide that support, as well as sometimes financial aid if necessary. Another branch of Harmony, which is fabulous that they offer what we call a preventive measure to couples that are getting married. So couples that are engaged, boys and girls that are engaged, now are offered this workshop, and they're offered to learn this in advance so that once they get into the marriage, they can abstain from making all these mistakes and putting strain on the marriage. They know there's a better way, they know there's a more healthy way, a more wholesome way to act in, let's say, in a moment, and they're taught these skills. So I myself am one of the teachers that teaches the couples, and it's a preventive measure, which is fabulous. And the reason why I'm telling you is because if you know couples that are engaged, encourage them to go and to take this workshop. Because once the younger couples are aware of these communication skills and these understanding of the emotional experiences, which they're not aware before they come in, then they have a much easier road down the line. And they can start ahead of time without having all the baggage and the strain on the marriage. Okay, having said that, thank you, Susan, thank you, Rena, thank you, Esther, Brenda Pinzek, and the whole crew that put this night together. Okay, let's begin. Look at your workbooks, okay? And let's begin. I'm going to give you time for questions at the end, okay? I urge you to ask whatever you need to ask. And I just will also ask of you to hold your questions, write them down so that we can have a flow of the lecture tonight, and then at the end we'll get everybody's questions. Okay, the first thing that we teach couples is that couples will notice, especially once they are married, that they are different. Now it's interesting, they don't always notice it before they're married, like when they're engaged, certainly when they're dating, when they're in high school, they're best friends, they're buddies. And I talk to couples a lot and I say, how long do you know each other? And they're like, are you kidding? We were friends since we're in the beginning of high school. And they were great together. Once they got married, things started to become tough. So many times I get this excuse. I got it this week. We are very, very, very different. We are polar opposites. And many times they feel that it's a mistake that they're together. And I want to tell you something. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to know opposites attract. And it's not a mistake. The more opposite you are, the more I say, the more perfect you are for each other. Because you're just what it needs to come together and achieve that balance. And I'm noticing a lot of smirks and smiles in the audience, right? Because a lot of people, we notice it in ourselves. Most couples, people are opposites, which means you have certain strengths that I don't have. I have certain strengths that you don't have. You have weaknesses that I don't have. I have weaknesses that you don't have. And that, of course, creates the balance. So let's look at the differences in a couple. The differences in a couple will first be, of course, the gender. And it will be the families that you come from. Okay, we come from different families. And I say, even if you marry your first cousin who lives next door to you, it's still different. It's still, you grew up with different parents, with different circumstances, with different nurturing. So of course, your minds are going to be different. Now, interestingly, we have to understand that the idea of a couple, working together, you see, each one of us is a product of our environment. We don't realize how influenced our minds are based on our upbringing, based on the words that we've heard all our lives, based on our friendships, based on our school, our schooling, our culture. We're so different. Each one of us is so different. And that's normal to think differently. So I want to reassure everyone that if you are opposites, you don't have to be concerned that that's a reason that you're not meant for each other. It is absolutely normal, and it is actually healthy because you will provide the balance in the home. So differences, again, are boys and girls think differently. Boys and girls' brains are wired differently. So how could I possibly think like you if I'm a girl? I have lots of emotions. You're a boy. You're very logical. Of course I don't think like you. Of course I'm going to see things differently than you, right? That's number one. Number two, families. Like I said, families raised in different kinds of homes, absolutely. You're going to have a completely different view on every circumstance, every experience that you go through. Your culture. Cultures, everybody's brought up in, even if I'm brought up in the same culture, like I said, every tight, couple of blocks provides, maybe culturally different, a couple of differences. So that's going to impact the way I think. Communities, sometimes husbands and wives come from different communities. And even, let's say, even amongst the Syrian community, there are lots of different communities. And that will make a difference in the way I think. Religious-wise, religion, sometimes couples come in on a different level. Not only that, sometimes couples come in on the same level, and then all of a sudden, there's a shift in the level. So what happens? The shift is, let's say one decides to become a little bit more religious. or one decides to go the opposite way. That will make a shift in the balance, and that will create a little tumult over there. Strengths and weaknesses, like I said, different couples, boys have the certain strengths. Again, every couple in its own individual way. You'll have certain strengths and weaknesses. The other side will have certain strengths and weaknesses. Okay, this is the main line from what I just told you. A healthy marriage is not one that does not have strengths and weaknesses. A healthy marriage is one where our differences, okay, this is wrong, okay? A healthy marriage is not one that does not have differences and disagreements. If you could change that, it's okay. Just change those words. A healthy marriage is one in where our differences and where our differences and disagreements can be used as opportunities to give and receive respect, understanding, and love. Okay, so what we learn from over here is that, of course, every marriage has differences and disagreements, but if I learn to give respect and I try to understand and I try to accept and love you, then at the end of the day, it's not the differences that are going to make the difference. It's how you deal with the differences. Let me give you a couple of examples. Esther enjoys going to a family, let's say to the family for Shabbat. Okay, so Esther and Mark are a couple. Esther likes going to either her family or his family for Shabbat. Mark likes staying home for Shabbat. Okay? One couple, one Shabbat, two different ideas. And like we said, a lot of it is their personality, they're being raised in certain cultural places, what their families are used to. Some families are used to every Shabbat we get together no matter what. Other families are, no, it's not like that. You spend Shabbat at home. Maybe on the holidays we get together. So again, you have to understand that this is a perfect match. How you deal with this is going to make the whole difference. It's not the difference that you think differently than I do. So again, the differences are not the main point here. It's how you deal with the differences. Let me give you another example. Isaac's family is aloof and non-responsive, while Barbara's family hugs, kisses, and is expressive. Okay, so one family is warm and inviting and hugging and kissing and loving, and the other family is very distant and aloof. Right? Now that doesn't mean that you got into the wrong family. No, it's how you deal with it that makes the whole difference. Life takes us in a direction that we do not always expect. Okay? It is not the shattered expectations that challenge the relationship. Rather, it's the way we deal with them that affects our relationship on a daily basis. What does that mean? That means that every couple meets with what we call shattered expectations. I had certain expectations of life. I expected my life to go in a certain direction. Now, sometimes we don't even know. Sometimes these thoughts are subconscious. Sometimes we don't even think about this. We just expect it. It's like, I'll give you an example. Let's say David is used to his mom having dinner ready early in the morning. He wakes up in the morning, his mom is in the kitchen, she's cooking, she's cleaning, dinner's ready, foiled on the stove, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, everything is done, house is neat. This is where he comes from. He marries a girl, Diana. Diana comes from a completely different background. She's a little bit more flying. You know, at 5, 6 o'clock, she's like, honey, what do you want to eat? He's like, what? What do you mean, what do you want to eat? Like, yeah, what do you want to eat? He says something, she's like, I don't have that in the freezer. Right? It's the first time he can handle it. second time he can handle it. By the third, fourth time, he's distraught. Because, what do you mean? Get it together, right? Now, he'll hold in the urge to say, my mom, which of course he should hold in that urge, because he didn't marry your mom. Stay away from that line. My mom always had dinner ready in the morning. He never thought about it. He sort of thought that life was going to be exactly the same. He never thought. Now I'll give you another example. Just to make the men come down a little, okay? She is used to her father waking up at 5:30 in the morning, okay? He goes to shul, he has a class, is on the train by 7:30, at work by 8:15. This guy is sleeping till 9:15. She's like, I don't understand, what are you doing? He's like, what do you mean? It's early in the morning, stop waking me up. What are you doing? What are you doing? And she can't get it through her head. My dad wakes up very early in the morning, right? And here this guy has no sense of responsibility. Becomes very tough. Now, she never thought about that. She kind of expected that to be. Why? Because again, these are the cultures, these are the families that we're raised. They become part of our persona, part of our going forward. It's just part of us. This is the way we are. This is what we expect in life. Life gives us shattered expectations. There are going to be shattered expectations. And once again, how you deal with the shattered expectations is going to make the whole difference. So it's not the fact that you have shattered expectations, that he wakes up late, you married the wrong guy. Of course not. Ridiculous, right? It's how you deal with it. It's how you cope with it. It's how you communicate, how you discuss, how we want to maybe help a little. We want to maybe give a little bit of support and ease the situation. But it doesn't mean that we're not for each other. Of course not. So how you deal with this is going to make the whole difference. Let me give you an example. You're moving into your new apartment tomorrow early in the morning, and your wife comes over to you and she tells you the following. You had made up that she's going to pack X, Y, and Z, and you're going to pack A, B, C. Night before she comes, you're moving, 8 o'clock, the truck is coming in the morning. She's like, honey, I got sidetracked. I wasn't able to pack. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'm really not ready. Now, you're at the moment of crises, right? What do? Do you scream? Are you impatient? Do you get angry? Do you blame her? What do? How do you respond to that, right? So think about it. Like here, if I were to call on one of you and say, how do you respond? Maybe do you decide to give her help? Do you decide to support her in it? Or do you scream at her and blame her? So here, I'm sure everybody would say, nah, I'm going to give her the help. But at that moment, I want you to be honest and real with yourself. What would you do? A lot of us would be very impatient. A lot of us would be very upset. Like, I don't understand. I told you, we made up. You're supposed to do something. I'm supposed to do something. And then it'll even go further where you never meet your obligations. You always come up with some excuse. You understand? And from there, we know how it goes. So the question is, how do you deal with shattered expectations? It's a shattered expectation. My wife, somehow can't get it together. She's not as organized as I would like. Or my husband can't get it together. Let's take another example. In your family, birthdays are a tremendous event. All your life you waited to celebrate your birthday, or your Mother's Day, or your anniversary, or any one of these events, right? You finally get married and you're waiting for your husband to spoil you. And now your husband's like, we don't even know our birthday. And our family birthdays are not, we don't know them. We don't celebrate our birthday. Like, what do you mean you don't celebrate birthdays? Like, in our family, it was like major. 2 cakes, 3 cakes, 1 Friday night, 1 Tuesday night, 1 breakfast. It's tremendous. You get married, he's like, no, we don't celebrate birthdays. It's a shattered expectation, right? And again, it's based on our cultural differences. But what do we do? How do we deal with this? See, the whole question is, how are you going to deal? Are you going to fight? Or can we communicate? Can we understand and maybe, take it to a better level of, let me try to hear what she needs. Let me try to hear what he's saying. I want to be present in what the problem is. So once we have this attitude, guys, we could be, like they say, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We could be on 2 different planets. But if I'm willing to be more present, and I'm willing to be more understanding, and to know how to deal with this via communication, via understanding your emotional needs, right? Via validation, then you know what? We will get along together perfectly. I want to stop and interject one thing over here. And that is, why couldn't God have put all those who do not celebrate birthdays, let's put all those over here, and put the other ones over here who do celebrate birthdays. I'll put all those, let's say, whose family, they like to get together every Shabbat. We'll match those together, and we'll put the others who like to be alone at home, those loners, we'll put them together, right? Why did God have to match one that loves family together with one that's more, maybe introverted or, doesn't like the social events? Why couldn't Hashem put us, match us perfectly together? And the answer is really fascinating. If I were to ask you, who in the world do you feel closest to, right? Who does a person feel closest to? Probably most of you would say our children. We all love our children. We all will do anything in the world to protect our children. We will give our lives for our children. You get up in the middle of the night, kids screaming, you're jumping up. You're not thinking about yourself. You're jumping up. You're giving to the kid. You're investing in the kid. Why do you love your children so much? It's because you give and you give and you give more and you give more. And as long as you're alive, even till 120, you're going to be giving to those kids because they never stop taking from you. Correct? So, because the more you give, the more you love, that's the nature. I'm sacrificing. I'm investing in. When you sacrifice for something, you own it. When you sacrifice in a relationship, you own it. If I were to take 2 people, Jack and Sarah, okay? Jack loves steak, loves heavy meats, heavy sandwiches, the smokehouse, just loves it. She cannot stand the smell of meat, naturally, right? She cannot stand the taste of meat. And now every Thursday night they go out together, and it's always an issue. Where are we gonna go? She likes to go to some place that's vegetarian, some type of sushi, light eating. He hates it. He wants to go to the steakhouse. But let's say Jack says, Sarah, honey, you know what? Tonight we're going for sushi. Like, yeah? Why? Because for nothing. I want you to be happy. I want to treat you. Tonight we're going for sushi. Jack has invested in Sarah, and Jack will be closer to Sarah. If Sarah and Jack remain the way they are, and Jack, let's say, doesn't do anything for Sarah, and Sarah doesn't do anything for Jack, then how are they going to get close? How are they going to like each other? So he does what he likes, she does what she likes. They're riding on different tracks. They'll never bend towards each other. When you sacrifice for each other, you end up loving one another much more. And Hashem, in his wisdom, understood that he's going to take these opposites and he's going to put them together. And now they're going to sweat it out. And they're going to work. And they're going to invest. And they're going to break their nature. And they're going to humble themselves. And they're going to understand them. They're going to understand what the other one needs. And you know what's going to happen? When each one invests in a noble way, in a humble way, to give to the other, each one is going to get much closer to the other. A lot of times we see selfish people, unfortunately, out there, and each one's like, no, too bad. Why should I give? Why should I give? There's no way that they're going to develop a relationship like that. It can never, ever happen. It's not possible to happen. The only way a relationship can happen is if I sacrifice for the relationship, and if I invest myself and I put myself in the relationship 100%. Then I will feel close to that person. Okay, let's go on to the next point. Men and women, like I said, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? Men have different perceptions of the world than women do. And if a woman knows this, and if a man is aware of this, it will save a lot of arguments, okay? So here's a man, I tell you, all the stories that I tell you are 100% true. Most of these examples were given by, our team and was experienced by one of us. This just happened this week. Husband comes in with the wife. Of course, they're not on the same page, arguing, and he says, she doesn't stop nagging. She doesn't stop nagging. She doesn't stop talking. She's nagging and talking, and she just doesn't stop. He says, I turn off inside. Okay? So, let's look at woman. Okay? Woman, if you look at the chart on the bottom, okay, look to the right. Women express problems to be heard and validated. Okay, go to the third one. Women want to feel connected to their husbands, therefore feel compelled to share their stress, disappointments, and frustrations. He doesn't understand that. He thinks she's nagging. She's not nagging. She's connecting to him. If he would understand it, he would listen, and he would understand what his job, what he needs to do in order to help her go through this experience, whatever she's experiencing at that moment. A lot of men have this problem, is they don't understand why their wives have to tell them every single thing from A to Z. And when she asks him, so what'd you do at work today? I don't know. Everything's good? Yeah. Say one word. I have nothing to say. They have nothing to say. Never. And the girl will go on and on and on. You have to understand, this is not by mistake. This is a fact of how girls are wired and boys are wired. And once you understand it, it'll help you. It'll help you get through it. Let's look at the woman. One more thing. Look at the middle one. Women see every experience through emotion, and therefore their perceptions of events are interconnected, which means every man will know this, that if God forbid he should make a mistake, it will come up and she will remind him that he made the same mistake 3 years ago and 5 years ago and 10 months ago he did something similar, and he's like, why are you bringing up 10 months ago? Why are you bringing up 5 years ago? And he gets all frustrated. And the answer is because to a woman, they're all connected. She's like, it's all the same thing. I don't understand why you're getting so bent out of shape, right? And she says, it's the same exact thing. And he's like, no, What happened 5 years ago happened 5 years ago. Has nothing to do with tonight. He doesn't understand it. And this is an amazing thing. Her brain connects everything through this emotional experience. And he compartmentalizes his experience. So let's go to the men. Men only express problems in search of a solution, which means that if a man knows that his wife does not have a solution, he may not share it with her. Let's say there's a problem in the business, right? And now the man, he needs help. His partner knows about it because his partner's there with him and they're discussing it. His partner mentions it to his wife. It's not their problem, it's the boss's problem. The partner's wife mentions it back to the boss's wife. She says, I can't believe it. You didn't tell me? I have to find this out from outside? Now we hear this a lot. The reason is because he says, I was protecting you. What are you going to do about it? Can you help me? No, I can't help it, but you should share it with me. See, a girl's brain would automatically share it with a boy. But a boy's brain doesn't work that way. A boy's brain doesn't think to share it because she doesn't have a solution. She has no idea of anything of the business. She can't help him. So he would never even share it or discuss it with her. Now it's interesting. He would discuss it with a million other people and he won't discuss it with her, and she gets very offended. See, but that's wrong. She needs to understand this is the way a boy works. And maybe if there's something that she would want, maybe she could, I may not have a solution. I would like to support you emotionally. That's a whole nother topic. But at the end of the day, that's the way the man's brain works. Okay, men feel a drive, need, and responsibility to make their wives happy. Therefore, if wives express negative feelings, men try to fix it or feel blamed. This is a powerhouse. This is loaded, okay? This is extremely important for all women, which means that the way Hashem created a man is automatically that he should protect his wife. And if the woman is not happy, he kind of feels blamed for it. It could have nothing to do with him. But that's the way it is. He just feels blamed. Another thing is, he may try to fix it because he feels responsible. So if, let's say, they can't afford too much help, and now she says, oh, I'm so tired, I can't, my head is splitting, I'm exhausted by the time the night comes, and he feels bad because really deep down inside, he wishes he could get her another helper. But instead, all he says is, oh, so go to sleep. She's like, I don't want to go to sleep. He's like, but you just said you're tired. I don't care, I don't want to go to sleep. So he will always try to fix the problem. She will not buy into it. She will never accept that fix because that's not what she's looking for. Don't forget, what is the girl looking for? The girl is looking for connection. The girl is looking for validation. Okay? The girl is not looking for solutions. Men are looking for solutions. Girls are looking for validation. So you see the difference in the wiring, and you see how we don't understand each other. That's why I want to tell girls, if you have a lot to complain about, and it's kind of the silly complaining, don't do it to your husbands, because they take it very much to heart and they feel blamed for it. So let's say it's a little bit, it's a little bit cold in your apartment, your apartment's a little bit small, you're not moving right now, it's not an option, you can't go on vacation, or you don't like where you're going on vacation, but it's final. Don't nag to your husbands. It's not healthy. Instead, find, a healthy person and nag to them, because your husbands will take it to heart and your husbands will feel bad about it and they'll want to fix it, and sometimes they can't. Or they'll just feel blamed and they'll feel very upset. Sometimes they even get defensive. Sometimes I had a girl that was new bride, okay? They're moving into their new apartment. There was a door. I was teaching this workshop to them, and she tells me, I can't believe it. She says there was a door, like she found it like misplaced, like a misplaced door in the back of their bedroom or something, like it didn't belong there. And somehow the door was there. That's the way the apartment was. And she started to say, like, I don't understand, why is there a door in the back of our room? And he got so defensive, and he started to, answer up. And she's like, whoa, why are you getting so angry? What has it got to do with you, right? What does the door have to do with you? Why are you getting so angry? And as I was teaching it to her, she said, I can't believe it. He felt so bad that she wasn't happy with the apartment that he started to get defensive and, maybe try to, fix the apartment or do whatever it is to help the situation. But he definitely got defensive over there because, again, he felt that it was his responsibility to make her happy. Okay, now we're going to go to another part. So this workshop is divided into 3 parts. Okay, the first part are the differences between us and our spouse. The second part is the emotional experiences that you would like in your marriage. And the third part is the communication skills. We're going to now start the emotional experiences, which is a beautiful part. And I want you to turn to page, over here it says page 10 at the bottom. That's because in the booklet it's on page 10. So please turn to the 3rd page, which is page 10. Okay, I want to give each one of you a minute and a half, okay, to look over these emotions over here. And I want you to write down on the next page, you'll see there's lines on the next page, okay, it's page 12. I want you to write down over here. So let's say each one, you're going to write down on the top. I want you to pick 5 emotional experiences that you would like to feel in your marriage, okay? Not that your wife gives you, that you would want. You wish that you would have this in your marriage. There's something called building a house, and there's something called building a home, right? Most people, when we say, yeah, I'm building a house, okay? Building a house means, literally, you're building a house, okay? It's furnished, it's beautiful, it's on this block, it has these features inside of it. It's a nice house. Imagine I were to give you, in your driveway, a fully loaded 2022 Porsche, okay? And I tell you, this is a gift for you. It is fully loaded, has every feature possible, latest features that you would love. The only thing is, there's one thing missing. There's no engine. In this car, there's no engine. But I'm just going to deposit it in your driveway. You'll say, no, thank you, I don't want it, right? What am I going to do with a car that doesn't run? What am I going to do with a car that doesn't work? A lot of houses are houses, which means there's 2 parts to the marriage. There's a business part and there's an emotional part. The business part is the day-to-day events that take place. In other words, the man rents the house or owns the house, you take the kids to school, the division of responsibilities, you go shopping, he goes to work, to study, right? All the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. But then you have the emotional experiences that you want to feel in the home. And you see how I said home? See, when I think of a home, I don't think of the house. I think of a home, meaning what's inside of the home, right? What is a home? Home consists of the couple, the children, the relationship, the love, the unity. That's our home. So many people build houses, and their business aspect of the house is perfect. It's like that car that's fully loaded. It's perfect. I walk into $10 million houses. Housekeepers, nannies, dinners, best education, best cars, best clothing, best vacations, best everything. That's the business aspect. On the emotional side, it's missing the engine. You understand? Can't live like that. Doesn't work. The house can't keep up like that. It's like a car that doesn't drive. It's like a car without an engine. You need to build a home, people. You need to have what we call the relationship, the interrelationship between one and another. By the way, I just happen to have been reading a very old book of mine, written by Rudolf Dreikurs many years ago, and he himself writes, this was in the 1960s, a goy, total Gentile, and he says the children's relationship with each other and the children's relationship with their parents will be based on the parents' relationship. This is how they view, actually this is how they view the entire world. How they view their interrelational relationships even outside of their own life, into the whole world. So the way they see, if they see people, let's say husband and wife, are caring, are sharing, are giving, are accepting, are understanding, then that's how they learn the world. That's how they understand the world. And that's how they present to the world. And that's how they have, that's what their relationship is founded on. But if they see bickering and fighting and selfishness and, people being very, self-directed, then unfortunately that's how they see the world. And that's how they act to the world. So it's very, very crucial. It's very crucial. You have to understand your relationship is crucial to the entire family. So now let's just run through them. Every human wants to feel accepted. I don't want you to compare me to your mother, to the neighbor, to your friend, to your sister, to your sister-in-law. I don't want you to compare me to those kinds of people. I want to feel accepted, and I need you to see me as unique and as an individual of whom I am. Feeling of admired. Some people want to feel admired, right? A feeling that my spouse thinks highly of me as a person. Appreciated, such a big one. It's like, in both ways. A girl could work for 2 hours and man's like, yeah, thanks. How was it? Very good, thanks. It's not a feeling of appreciated. It's a feeling of it's very loose. It's very thin. Okay? You need to layer it a little bit. Like, wow, you thought about what I like. You worked so hard. You went out to buy it, to check it, to do it. I really do appreciate it. It was delicious. Or a man gives a wife money. Not so easy to give so much money. You can't just say thanks. Oh, thanks, leave it in the drawer. What do you mean thanks, leave it in the drawer? Thank you, you worked so hard for it. I appreciate it. It goes so far. We have to really give that feeling of appreciation over. Cared for. This is a big one. Feeling that my spouse pays extra attention to me and genuinely wants to give me. Every human, I can't believe that one human in this room wouldn't want that, right? Every human wants to feel cared for. Everybody wants to feel that special attention, and I should feel treasured in your eyes. Cherished, the feeling that my spouse holds me dear to him. Very similar. Compassion, my spouse has sympathy for me when needed. Even if the spouse doesn't think that it's something that needs or requires sympathy, that doesn't matter. In her eyes, she needs sympathy. You need to give it to her, or he needs sympathy. You need to give it to him. The next one is connected. My spouse is emotionally bonded with me, which means that the husband could be in China and the wife could be over here, and somehow their hearts are connected. It's a beautiful feeling of we are connected no matter where we are. Desired. My spouse covets and longs for me as a person. Respected. My spouse holds my abilities, qualities, or achievements in high regard. Not only that, I think respected is as well, not only to look at a person in high regard, but to even speak to a person in a respectful way. I think our generation has such a loss of that at this point, and it's painful to see how husbands and wives talk to each other. For sure, nobody talks to the housekeeper in that way. For sure, you wouldn't have a housekeeper, for sure. You understand? We talk nicer to the housekeeper. We talk nicer to the neighbor. We speak nicer with other people than we speak to our own spouse. Such a pity. Safe. The feeling that my spouse would never do anything knowingly that would either physically or emotionally hurt me. And that is, runs into many, many different areas, but just a couple. A man could take a couple of drinks, and the girl says, I'm driving. He goes, no, you're not, I am. She says, what do you mean you drank? It's like, oh, stop it. She had a couple of cups. What are you, crazy? No, right? She doesn't feel safe going in a car like that. That's a man's responsibility to keep her safe. It's like on such a basic level. Other examples of safe, certain, let's say, words that are thrown out. Girl doesn't feel safe when she hears those kinds of words. So for sure, every couple wants to feel safe, every human wants to feel safe in their marriage, but this applies especially to women, where women are more vulnerable and they do need to feel more safe. Stable is my spouse is reliable and I can depend on them to be there as a constant. So I think, many husbands want to feel the stability in the home where, let's say, the girl loses it a lot, a boy doesn't feel the stability of the home. Or if the husband, let's say, again, is, let's say, doing certain things that there's no stability and predictability in the home, becomes a very insecure type of home. So that's an emotion that everybody would want. Trusted, a feeling that my spouse can rely on me and depends on me. That's a very big one for a lot of people. Just trust me, I will do it. You don't need to, to call the handyman, or you don't need to do it behind my back. Just trust me, I will do it. Understood, the feeling that my spouse gets me. He or she knows a lot about me and is interested to know more and more. That's a very deep feeling of connection when you're understood. Value, the feeling that my spouse treasures me as his or her partner, as a unique person and some of my unique qualities, and you can add your own. So at home, I want you to continue this, okay? I want you to take this part of the workshop, and you're going to, show each other what you wrote down, and you're gonna know that if you want the engine to work well, you want this home to be built, then you need to be giving your wife these emotional experiences, and your wife needs to be giving it back to you. And if you're not getting it, you're going to feel empty in your relationship. You're going to feel unhappy. So, there are couples that live as, maybe roommates or something. They just share a kitchen sink, share a bathroom, share a house, but they're not really connected. Understand? That's a pity. Such a sad thing to live like that. You need to learn how to live in a connected way, and that's via these emotions. You have to be able to give. If your husband wants to feel respected, you can't say, like, I'm sorry, I respect him the way I respect him. No, doesn't mean you have to bow down to him. No, not at all. It means you have to kind of admire him, hold his, let's say, whatever he likes in admiration. Look at him, talk nicely to him. It's important to understand what each side wants and to be able to give it to that person. Okay, now we're going to go on to, I want you to turn to, 1 second. No, let's go back to page 2. Okay? Let's go back to page 2. Okay. Now we're going to do the 5 love languages real quickly. There's a book, and it's by Gary Chapman, and it talks about the 5 love languages. Every couple has different ways to express love. What does that mean? And that means that, let's say I can express love in one way, you can express love in another way. There are 5 different languages for love, okay? So there's positive words and encouragement, people who speak, people who can speak easily and well. So let's just say some people can speak, some people can give compliments. Wow, that was an amazing class. You did that beautifully. Or wow, you put such an unbelievable table together. It was glamorous. Or wow, I admire you. Any kind of positive words, that we give to each other, that goes under the title. And some people have it very easy. They can speak well and give compliments very easily. Some people cannot speak. It's hard for them to get those words out, but they give quality time. They love time. So I'll give you quality time. I'll go with you. I'll spend time with you. I'll, give you my undivided attention. That says I love you. I don't say I love you, but my undivided quality time says I love you. Okay, some people love gifts. Gifts not meaning the materialistic gift. It could be a chocolate bar. It could be I went to the store and I bought you a chocolate because I was thinking of you. And the other side loves it because that's their language. Some people like acts of services. They'll do anything for the other one. They'll do the Amazon returns. They'll go to the cleaners. They'll fill the car with gas. They'll pour the coffee because that's their language. It's acts of services. And some people love affection and touch and holding, embracing. That's their language. So you guys, again, you're going to go home and understand each other. Now, there is what we call the love language quiz. It's on page 15, okay? If you guys don't know your love language, it's on page 15. You're going to take this quiz, and you're going to see if your husband is the type that loves quality time, and you're not that type, because again, don't forget, we're different, right? We have a lot of differences. You like, let's say, gifts, and he likes quality time. You have to give him love in his language, which means if you give him a gift, to him it's very nice, but it doesn't say I love you. If you give him quality time, if his love language is time, and you give him quality time, it says I love you. So it's important to know each other's language, and it's important to give it to each other in each other's language. Okay. Learn what makes your spouse especially loved and cared for. Learn to speak their language. A relationship is like a bank account. There are always deposits and withdrawals. Make sure that there are many more deposits and withdrawals. Like every one of you knows, if you have more withdrawals than deposits in your account, you're going to suffer. Same thing in a marriage. If you put in the emotional part again and again and again, those are the deposits, right? And you take out a withdrawal, which is an argument. I argue with you, I'm upset at you, I say a bad word to you. All those are withdrawals. So if you take out more withdrawals than deposits, then your marriage is going to suffer. Okay, deposits, you need to have a weekly deposit, which means you should go on a date night once a week. You need to get away from the stresses, get out for an hour, and just get in the car and go. Go where? Go wherever you want. Go for a jog, go for a drink, go for nothing, go for a drive, go for a dinner. Once a week, it's so important, and you connect emotionally. I want to insert one thing over here, and that is that when you have a date night, and certainly every night for about 20 to 25 minutes, you need to connect on an emotional level. And if you have your phones out and you're talking on your phone, you have to know it's a crime. You are killing your relationship with your own hands. I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care if you're the head doctor in the whole entire world. I don't care if you are, the owner of the biggest company in the world and you're going to lose $1 million. You're going to lose much more than $1 million if you're on the phone at home. You're going to lose your whole family. You have to know, you have to respect each other and put that phone away. And it's a shame that we have to say it to couples. It's a shame. How could you're talking to your wife like this? What do you think she is? And same thing for a girl. You're talking to your husband like this, and I'm listening. You're listening? That's the way you're listening? That's what I'm worth? That shows, what are you worth? It's a sin. And it's ruining families. I can't tell you, it's either one or the other in every family. We have the crying out of, she's on the phone at night, at dinner time. Isn't that, I'm embarrassed to say it, but isn't that shameful that you have at the dinner table, you're going to bring your phone and talk while your husband is sitting there or while your wife is sitting there? She says, I'm doing business, I'm making money for her. It's not helpful. Again, you're building your house. You're not building your home. So you have to stay focused. 20 minutes a day, minimum. That's the minimum. 20 minutes a day you both make up. Phones do not enter that place where you are. If it's on the sofa, 20 minutes a day you connect to each other and you put the phones away, or at the dinner table. And by the way, if you do it, maybe the kids will also learn, because the kids are learning from you. They're picking up whatever you're doing, that's what your kids are doing. Okay. So we have the periodic dates. The regular routines is on a daily basis, 15, 20 minutes. You need to connect emotionally. And you have the not so often escapes, which is the going away for a weekend or so, like a big recharge to your marriage. Okay, now we're going to end off with this one idea of, we said validation, okay? Validation or communication. When I communicate something to you, I am usually looking for something in that communication. For instance, if I tell you something very exciting, let's say I tell my husband, it's so exciting, my parents booked us a trip to, Cancun for Pesach, okay, right? And you don't respond. That becomes very, very disconnecting between the two of you. She's coming with a tremendous amount of excitement, sharing that information to you, and you're not connecting to us. I want you to open up to page 23, okay? On this, it's page 23. And I want, you could even call out, what feeling would you say she's expressing at that time? So anybody can read it and let me know. Okay? She's coming and telling you that something happy. What would you say? She's
thrilled, she's excited.
Thrilled, she's excited, she's ecstatic, right? Amazing. So let's say you say, wow, that's thrilling, that's so exciting, unbelievable. Then she feels that you connected to her. See, communication is a means to connect to one another. Your brain and my brain, two different brains, need to connect via this communication, okay? So that's great. Now let's say I tell you something else. Let's say I tell you, you're not going to believe it. The school called, let's say your wife studied for 2 hours with this boy, and now the school called and tells the mom that the boy failed the test and the parents have to come down. And now she calls the husband and she says, you're not going to believe it, the school just called. And he's like, yeah? Okay, so what do you want from me? No, I'm just, what do you mean, what do you want from me? I'm telling you, the school called. She's like, okay, so what do you want? She's like, forget it. Boom, she hangs up, right? There's no connection right there. It's very painful, there's no connection. If he says, what would she feel? She studied the night before for 2 hours. What does she feel? What is she feeling at that time? So look at the words and call it out.
She's fuming.
She's feeling what?
Fuming? Fuming.
Fuming.
Well,
She's
she's
fuming.
disappointed.
Good. She's fuming. She's disappointed. What else?
Aggravated.
She's
Aggravated.
very aggravated. That's right.
She's frustrated.
She's frustrated.
She's
So
irritated.
imagine the husband would say, "Oy," instead of saying, "What do you want from me? I'm working," he would say, "Oy, that's so aggravating. After you did all that studying and now we're still being called down to school. Wow." So you see, this is how we connect, guys. So important. Let me take another example. Man calls the wife, okay, and says something about he was hoping to get into this show, a business show, and he didn't get in, right? There was no more room for him. He signed up too late. And he calls and he tells her and he's all aggravated. And she's like, "Oh gosh, okay, don't tell me you're gonna come home in a bad mood. Just don't tell me that. I can't handle it another night." He hangs up. He hates her because that's so mean. You don't understand what I'm going through? So look at the words and tell me, what is he going through at that time? Come on, guys, girls, what's he going through?
He's furious.
He's unloved.
Good, right, but he's unloved, but you're saying it passed. Now the fact that he didn't get into the show, what is he feeling?
Defeated, rejected.
He's, right, he feels rejected, he feels devastated, he's aggravated, he's furious, he's frustrated, any one of these words, right? So all she could say is, "Oh dear, you didn't get into the show, how frustrating, how aggravating, you must be so upset." That's all you need. And the whole thing blows down. I call it like a hot air balloon, this big. You poke a tiny little hole, the whole thing will come down. This is how we communicate. I urge every couple to take this sheet, make a copy of it, and put it on your fridge. And use it. We call it name it to tame it. Name the feeling. Look for the feeling that the other one is experiencing and label it. It is so powerful. The only way you can connect to another person is via the feeling. See, immediately if I say, "Oh dear, that's terrible. You didn't get in. So upsetting, so aggravating," now we're on the same page. You understand me, I understand you. But if she says, "Oh no, don't tell me you're gonna come home in a bad mood," right? She's self-directed. That's selfish. That's mean. He's not connecting to her. Or if he says, "What do you want from me?" Right? "Okay, the school called. What do you want from me? I'm working. I'm busy now. Okay, don't bother me with this." Boom. She's so angry. How could you dare say that? And this is what's happening. There's no connection. So you need to connect via feelings, words, okay? So these feelings, you need to take them and you need to put them in your daily repertoire of language. Now, we use it, of course, if it's an intense situation, the feeling is more intense. If it's a lighter situation, you don't have to get so dramatic. You can make it a much lighter word. You can say, "Oh, beautiful, so happy." You understand? You don't have to get so excited. You don't have to get so dramatic in the negative. So it's extremely important to connect via this way. Okay, guys. There's one more thing I just want to say, and that is I talk versus you talk, an I message. So if you want to say something, and usually the way we start is, you always come late. You never answer the phone at work. You're always the first one to have your phone on, speak at the party, right? So it's always you. So it's important to understand that instead of saying you, say I. State your need. I would love if you can come early tonight. I need you to come early tonight. I would love if you put your phone away. I would love if you will help me with the kids. Instead of saying, you never help me with the kids, I need help with the kids. It's so much more powerful. It's so much more helpful. It's so much more protective of the other one's dignity. So instead of saying you never or you always, forget those words. Eradicate them, erase them, take them away. I. Say I, and what is your need? I need, I would love, I could use your help tonight, instead of saying you're never present at night. Okay, so that's I talk versus you talk. Basically, I think we finished. Okay. One more thing, and that is compromise from a place of giving and not of giving in. See, if I give you something, right, can I be upset? I give you $100. Now I'm missing $100. Can I be upset? No, I gave it to you. But let's say I'm forced to give it to you. Now I'm upset because now I'm missing $100. I don't want to be forced to give it to you. I want to just give it to you. Every couple has differences, and every couple has a couple of things, 2 or 3 things that are majorly important to that person. Compromise from a place of giving, which means I'm not going to give in, because if I give in, I'm going to be resentful to you, and I don't want to give in. I want to give it to you. So let's say your husband has a certain thing that he likes to do, and let's say he likes to play a certain game, right, on Sunday morning, and it bothers you, but that's his one thing that he needs. So instead of giving in every Sunday and it'll eat you up, one day just say, you know what, I'm going to wrap this up in a gift and I'm going to give it to him. Every Sunday at 9 o'clock, he goes to play that game. And I give it to him. Now I'm not angry every Sunday because I gave it to him. So compromise from a place of giving and not of giving in.